Let's talk about sun lines and astrocartography. If you've made it here, you already know what astrocartography is, maybe heard of it online somewhere else. Maybe you're deep into astrology, maybe you're a beginner. Either way, this video will be helpful. There are 4 lines for each planet in astrocartography, so the sun has 4 lines as well. If you're not familiar with why there are 4, it's because there are 4 angles on your birth chart: the ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the IC. They all have their own themes and represent certain areas of life. The big 4. So you'll have a sun ascendant, which is represented with the sun symbol on your map with AC in caps. Then you'll have your sun MC, midheaven, your sun DC, the descendant, and your sun IC. It's the imum chili, it's the Latin word for bottom of heaven, so it's kind of the opposite of the midheaven. I'm Kim Mott, and welcome to my astrocartography playlist. So what's going to happen to you on these sun lines? Well, you'll experience them in the 4 different themes, but you'll also experience them according to aspects that you have in your birth chart to other planets that the sun is looking at. So you'll need to definitely reference your birth chart. You'll also want to have a look at your astrology relocation chart, which we use in astrocartography as a reference point. There are also a few other nuances to look at, but I'm going to focus now on the 4 sun lines. In astrology, the sun represents the core of your being, the essential self, the creative life force. It is you. Whereas other planets represent different aspects of your personality, the sun represents you. So, going to a sun ascendant line might put you more in the spotlight. You actually might become more visible to the world. So if you're an introvert, this may not be the one for you. But if you're trying to promote yourself in your business, you're trying to maybe launch a new business, a podcast, a channel, something like that, this would be a good place to do it in general. Again, check your birth chart. The sun ascendant line is a place where new beginnings can happen, especially since it's you, yourself, the sun. It can also give you a boost to your charisma and just a feeling of being seen as your authentic self. Personally, I've been to my sun ascendant line on different parts of the line because it does run right through the United States. And like I've been saying, you have to look at your birth chart. So since I have Mars conjuncting my sun, that also affects my experience there. So it has a lot to do with ambition, career, things like that. But if you're on your sun ascendant, you tend to be more visible to other people. Both when I lived in Chicago and down farther south in Oklahoma, actually, near where my sun ascendant was running through, I experienced big boosts to career. It was much more close to the city of Chicago, so when I lived there, I was actually able to launch a business. It actually was a travel bloggers conference back in the day of bloggers before we were called influencers, maybe in retrospect. And it became the largest gathering of travel influencers in the world. It's still going on today. I ended up selling that to an expo company, and it happens 3 times a year all around the world. So that happened when I landed in Chicago, kind of unexpectedly, a place I didn't plan to move to. But the years that I lived there, I definitely became more publicly visible. It wasn't even the MC line, which was the career, but it was the ascendant. So that was kind of a personal experience I had. And again, that kind of big visibility career boost happened also on that line when I was down in another part of the country. Okay, on to the sun MC line. The sun MC line, or the midheaven, can bring opportunities for leadership, success, recognition. If you go to your sun MC line, it's going to be a heavy focus on your career. That's the only sun line I haven't visited personally, so I can't give you a personal story there. But I do have another series that I'm going to be doing called Star Maps, where we'll look at celebrity charts and look at their maps and where they've gone. One big example to me that I remember seeing from somebody's astrocartography map was the actress Vivian Leigh. She actually starred as Scarlett O'Hara in the classic film Gone with the Wind. Ended up being the highest grossing film of all time. She has her sun MC line running right through London, where she was discovered and became famous. So that was really interesting. She was born in India and then she went to another line and just became world famous. So the MC line can really give a boost to your career. It would also definitely put you in the mindset of career. The Sun DC line has to do with the descendant themes, so relationships, people you attract into your life. The Sun DC line could bring you significant relationships that help you understand your place in the world. You could attract strong personalities that take center stage in your life. You might even find a life partner here, or just really learn about yourself from the lens of looking at it through others. This location on the Sun DC line can also be really great for collaborative projects with others. I'm actually fairly close. I'm a little bit far from my Sun descendant line right now where I am. I'm currently in the beautiful country of Georgia in the Caucasus Mountains. And, it's several degrees away from where I am, but I can still sort of feel that sun energy. And I have found it pretty easy to just really relate to people here. Again, if I were closer to that exact line over in Kazakhstan, I would experience it more potently right on the line, versus if you're kind of farther away, it'll be a little less powerful, but you will still feel things. We'll look at some star maps with sun descendant lines as well. One thing to watch out for on a sun descendant line is you can feel a little sleepy. I have been on this line once before. Again, it's near my Mars, but it runs right through Moscow. And I was visiting Russia after they hacked our election in 2016. Had to go see what was going on. Met a lot of really interesting people. It was very easy to attract people to talk to there because, again, it's descendant, ruling relationships, things like that. And got to speak to a lot of interesting different types of people there in Moscow. Though I really did have a lack of energy. I can't say it because I was much closer to that line than I am now. I felt so jet lagged and so sleepy throughout that entire trip. I've never actually experienced jet lag to that degree before. So that's something to consider on a sun descendant, because the sun being your vitality, your person, and descending, which means it's anti-culminating, it's on its way down to the setting sun. It's about to go into nighttime is the analogy in the night sky. So you might have a little less energy on a sun line than you might on the descendant than you would on the ascendant. The sun IC line can really illuminate your inner world. The IC stands for your inner foundations and what's going on behind the scenes, not in public. Where the MC is public, the IC is what happens in private. So the sun, being the great illuminator, might really bring this to conscious awareness. If you're, somebody who feels insecure about certain things, that's going to bring that up for you. But it's also going to be one of the most perfect places on Earth to actually sort of heal that energy within yourself. So it's a great place to go and focus on your own inner foundations, your own feelings of security, and also your home. You might feel really, really at home on a sun IC line. The IC also represents ancestry. So you might find that your IC, your sun IC, runs right through a place that you might actually have ancestry or distant relatives that may still be living, something like that. And so that's something to look into as well. It can also represent your parents and family. So if you want to improve your relationship with parents and family, maybe go on a trip to your sun IC if you can. The IC line can also make you feel right at home and help you really create a home environment that reflects your authentic self, because the IC represents where you live. It could also be, even if you're staying in a temporary accommodation, you would feel really at home in this place. Okay, so what do you do if you do have, difficult aspects or challenging aspects in your birth chart? If you're not an astrologer, this can be hard to suss out, but there are certain things to look for, specifically squares and oppositions, which usually are indicated in red on your chart. So read up on those. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go to a place if you have hard aspects, but you should be aware that, especially with the illuminating sun, you may be confronted with issues that need your conscious attention. And if you take your planet, and if you take yourself to a place where you're putting your sun on an angle in your birth chart, which supercharges that planet, this being the sun, you may really intensify this experience. You could always transmute and transform energy. Just be aware that you'll need to bring conscious attention to any tensions that you have. That said, if you have really beneficial aspects in your birth chart to your sun, your natal sun, you may have an absolutely wonderful experience on this line. Just be careful not to overdo the ego, because the sun does represent ego. But it also represents your will and destiny. So if you go there with conscious goals, you really might be able to achieve them. So again, it's really important to double check, your own birth chart, what your own aspects to other planets are before you kind of make an assessment of how you might experience a line when you go visit. Another thing to also consider is that though you will probably start feeling the effects of a planet line because you are making it angular and it's becoming really strong, it may not be the full effects of that planet line for about a Mars return, which is about 2.5 years. So if you're not thinking of relocating there, it's a vacation spot, just don't think that you're going to go and your whole career is going to change or something like that overnight or in a week or two or a month, or that you're going to experience the full flowering of that planet. It does take some time to have full effect. So if you are moving to that place, definitely, keep track of what happens over time. And if you're going for a short period of time, you may make wonderful connections in that place that you can use, long term, but it may not all happen at once just because you're visiting. Have a look at my other video where I talk about a lot of other techniques on how to read your astrocartography map. So if you're not familiar, do check that out. All right, that's been Sun Lines. Check this astrocartography playlist for all the other planets. There are 4 lines for each planet, so there are 48 interpretations, but there will be 12 videos in this playlist. If you don't find them right away, do check out my website, kimmott.com. All 48 lines are described there. Or if this is all overwhelming for you and you'd like to book a reading, you can do that on my website as well. See you next time.